The wounded healer. That is going to be the topic of this episode of Chi Life. So the wounded healer is a bit of an archetype that tends to occur quite commonly. We see it quite a lot, and you might identify this within yourself or within people that you know around you. And yeah, so in this vlog I'm going to talk about both the healthy and unhealthy aspects of this, because there's a reason why this archetype occurs quite commonly, and a lot of that can be really healthy, but it can also take an unhealthy shape as well. There can be some not so good sides to it. I think a big part of why this archetype occurs is that people who have been hurt, who have been injured, who have been seriously sick in different ways, and this can go across multiple different aspects of our life. It can be physical injury and physical illness and so on, but it can also be psychological or emotional or things like that, where people have experienced trauma and struggle, and the difficulty of that, once they start to come through that, and hopefully this is the healthy side of it, they come through the other side and they find that they've managed to resolve at least some of these issues. They really understand the pain, the discomfort that comes from those things that they've experienced, and this then leads them to want to help other people, because out of sincere compassion and desire to help someone with this discomfort as part of the lived experience. And I think that's a healthy thing. That's a natural, healthy thing. And I think those people who have experienced this real discomfort, illness, injury, whatever it is, it gives them an insight that can help them to be a much more effective healer, helping others, because they have their own experience to refer to, and the many things that they've probably learnt on their own journey and helping themselves to be able to help others as well. So that's part of the healthy side of this. I'll probably come back and talk some more about some healthy sides of it as well. But then maybe the unhealthy side of this archetype as well. And this can come in when sometimes, again, maybe someone has experienced distress and ill health or injury or whatever it is, and they go, right, well, I want to help other people, but they haven't actually addressed their own issues well enough yet first. Now, again, you don't need to be perfect to be able to help others, but sometimes people can actually use their helping of others as a way to actually avoid really finishing the work that they need to do on themselves, and then it can become unhealthy. It becomes a kind of a deflection away from taking care of what they need to do themselves. And that then leads to, it leads to them continuing in their own state of ill health, of discomfort, and it means that often they're not putting themselves in a position where they can actually take care of other people as effectively as they could if they took care of themselves better first, and then they'd be in a stronger, healthier position to help and support others. And so that's something that you might see out there a bit as well. You might see the healthy side and the unhealthy side of the wounded healer. Another unhealthy side of that can be that because someone who's gone through a lot of distress, ill health, injury, whatever it might be, and they've had such a focus on that for such a period of their time, of their life, that then when they've actually moved past this, they've healed, they're well now, because that has been their focus for so long, they feel that they have to then continue to focus on that, and so they then turn that focus onto other people, but it's still focusing on these same types of issues. And again, that can be a healthy thing, that can be a good thing, but at sometimes that then becomes a limitation on that person, because they feel they have to. They limit their perspective on what they can do in life, where they could turn their focus and energy to, not maybe realizing or not feeling comfortable or not feeling they have permission to actually completely let go of that phase of their life, that experience, and put their attention onto something else completely, and that they would actually be much happier, more fulfilled, and maybe do more good for the world as a whole if they turn their attention to that and away from illness. In a way, turning their attention to helping others is keeping them, again, maybe not experiencing the same things themselves, but keeping them focused on this area of life where maybe that's not the most healthy thing for them to do. So that's another thing to be aware of, and I think it's a good bit of self-analysis, self-awareness to look at if you are someone who has gone through serious illness, serious injury, whatever it might be, serious emotional trauma, and find yourself thinking like, hey, what I want to do is now, dedicate the rest of my life to helping other people with these issues. I think it's healthy to take some time for self-reflection and really use some wisdom to judge. It's like, why do I think that's what I want to do? Is it my true desire? Is it really how I think I'll help the world first? Or do I feel like I have some kind of obligation, and in a way, is this a way of actually keeping me in this focus on ill health? But actually, I'd be happier doing something else. So it's a good thing to reflect on. And it may well be that you find like, yeah, no, what I really want to do is help other people. Great, awesome, go ahead. But it's healthy to take that moment, to pause, to reflect, to be sure that that's what you want to do, because it may be healthier to actually divert your attention and, into something else, to truly flourish in another area. Some other aspects of this wounded healer archetype that I think it's valuable to recognize. As I mentioned earlier, you don't have to be perfect in order to help others. And in our modern age, there can be a tendency sometimes when looking at people who, to be experts and to rely on for advice and things like that we might look at their external appearance a lot. And so a classic example, and I think most of you watching this channel will be able to recognize this one quite quickly, would be the 20-year-old personal trainer, right? Or they might not be 20, they might be 22 or 23 or 24 or 25 or whatever, but young and healthy and super fit and look really good, doesn't mean they're actually going to be really good at training someone else and helping them with their issues to help them to get more fit. Now, some of them might be, to be fair. Like, this is not to say that you should dismiss anyone who fits that category. Don't judge someone because they happen to be young and fit and healthy. They might have really good knowledge and understanding and skills, and they might be able to help very well. But there's a good chance that that same person, that they've never really experienced any real ill health or major injuries or depression or or any of these other things, that someone who's wanting to get fit and wanting to have a trainer might be suffering from, and they might not really understand how to help someone with that because that's not where they're at. Contrast this with the 55-year-old personal trainer who, again, they might be super healthy and fit and awesome, great, right? But they might also have a few injuries and things, and like some things they can't do so well anymore, and they in some ways may not look as glossy and shiny on the outside, but they have this depth of knowledge and understanding often that can really help the person who's suffering and has some things to overcome in order to become fit. Now again, that's not to say that, okay, look for the most broken down, worn out person as your personal trainer. It's not that either. But to recognize that we find this in the area of healing often. We can find individuals who are really healthy, really well, and maybe they've always been that way, but they've managed to gain knowledge and skills to help others. Awesome, great. We also might find other people who are really healthy, really well, look really good, who have had significant issues of illness or injury or whatever it might be in the past, and have managed to resolve them all, and now they're great. Awesome, cool, they've got some good experience, they'll be able to help. And you might also find some people, and this is not uncommon, who they have had really, really hard challenges in their lives, really hard to overcome. And they've worked really hard to overcome them. And they've had a certain degree of success in that. But they haven't managed to overcome all of their issues, all of the challenges, all of the issues with their health or injuries. Some of them they're still working on. But because those challenges have been so difficult, have been so hard to resolve, by golly, they have worked really hard, learning different things, understanding different things, trying different things, which has led to a richness of knowledge and understanding that can then really be helpful for someone else. And some of the best healers fall into that category. They've worked really hard, they've had big challenges to overcome. They may not have actually managed to overcome all of them, but they've overcome a lot, they've discovered a lot in the process, and then they have a lot to offer and help other people with whatever challenges they have. And so it's helpful when we're looking at different people as healers, as personal trainers as well. That's a more very, clearly obvious, externally observable one, that one. But as healers of different types, to recognize, yes, they can be young and beautiful and a good healer. Yes, that's possible. They can be middle-aged and healthy and beautiful too. Yeah, that's possible too. But a lot of really good healers have some stuff going on. It's like, yeah, they're not perfect. They haven't reached perfection. They've got different injuries or things that they might be dealing with, but that doesn't mean that they don't have a lot to offer that might be beneficial to you. Anyway, I thought this topic might be interesting for some of the people who watch the vlog, because again, this is an archetype that occurs often, and I think there's probably quite a few people who watch this vlog who, to some degree, maybe fall into this archetype, or have a tendency towards this archetype, or people around them. And yeah, just to talk around a little bit in terms of some of the different sides of this, how it can be a healthy thing, it can be a really healthy thing, but then the other side of assessing, like, actually, is this the healthiest thing for me, or maybe I should steer myself in a different direction. Also, in terms of understanding a little bit of the different people who we interact with, we ideally want to look a little bit below the surface. It's nice to have a beautiful surface, absolutely, of course, that's a great thing. But in assessing things, to also be able to maybe go a little bit deeper and look at what's behind that, to find what may be of value and helpful to us in our lives. For myself, I am clearly by no means perfect. I have lots of different issues. I've had lots of challenges in my life too. Often that's not obvious, not just for me, but for lots of people. It's not obvious the challenges that people have had to deal with. A lot of them have been really tough, and I've had a degree of success with them, and I haven't been completely successful with some of them yet either, and I keep working on them. But I think because of that, that has given me a degree of understanding, a degree of compassion, and a degree of knowledge and skill that can be quite useful in helping others. And you'll find this within many other people in the healing arts as well. All right, I hope you've enjoyed this one. I look forward to seeing you on another vlog soon.